What is up, everybody? And it's coming up on that time that every fisherman loves, spawning season.
That is right. So what me and Brett have for you today is we're going to show you guys our 5 top favorite spring baits. And along with that, if you haven't seen our last videos, go ahead and check those out. Give us a subscribe, go ahead and like this video. We'd appreciate it a lot. Without further ado, let's get into this thing. Alright guys, so I'm going to start off with my first favorite bait for spring, and that is the jig. Now the jig, everybody knows it's an all year round fish catcher. Whether it's summer, spring, winter, fall, every time of the year this thing can catch you a fish. You can use a flipping jig if you want to really slow it down. You can use a swimming jig if they're hitting moving baits like during the pre-spawn or even during the spawn. I always stick with something natural, whatever they're foraging on in the lake or whatever's actually eating their eggs, like a bluegill. So bluegill are big on eating bass eggs, so I'm going to stick with like a PB&J color or an Okeechobee crawl color because those mimic bluegill very, very well. All right, what's yours?
My first one is going to be a worm, especially for spawning season. It's a perfect time to try out things that you don't typically get to use. So use something a little bit more aggressive, see if it hits. Because I mean, it's spawning season. Fish are going to be super aggressive. Yeah. Just the time to try things out.
Yeah, and you know, whenever you're spawning, during the spawning time, you want something that you can actually see because most of the time you're sight fishing anyways, and if you use a bright color, you can see it in the water pretty well. So that's a great one. All right, guys. So my next one is the spinnerbait. I know, another basic bait, but spinnerbaits are great for the pre-spawn as well as the actual spawn because during the pre-spawn, whenever bass start to move up, again, they're starting to hit moving baits. So this one's great. Everybody knows spinnerbaits work, so why not use them for the springtime as well? And also for the spawn, whenever you run these across their beds, usually, especially if you have a pretty bright color, they're going to get pretty agitated and they're probably going to bite it. So again, spinnerbait's a good one.
All right, on to my next bait. We have the square bill crankbait here. Just like with the spinnerbait, you can use this in pre-spawn, just whenever the bass start moving up closer to the shallower waters and in cover. You can throw this in there. Works perfect every time.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so my next one is going to be the DBomb. So this is Missile Bait's DBomb. This is one of my favorite ones. You can flip it onto a bed. You can flip it into cover whenever the bass are starting to move up, and whenever they're slowing down, whenever they're spawned out. Again, you can throw this out there because it's a lot harder to catch them, so you're going to slow things down, and this one works perfectly. Imitates a bug, a crawl, a bluegill, dying bluegill, anything. I mean, this imitates a lot, and I usually like to use, again, a more natural color. This one's kind of not. It's a candy grass, but it does have the green pumpkin on one side, but then that purplish color, which is going to imitate a bluegill.
Super oily.
Yeah, super oily.
All right, on to my next one. We have the chatterbait. Like he said before, in our waters, a lot of times we like to imitate bluegill because that's just typically what there is there. So something like this, it's going to work out perfectly. It's just a chatterbait. There's not really much to say about a chatterbait. A lot of these are actually pretty basic baits.
Yeah. All right. So next, everybody knows this. There's going to be one that everybody probably has told you about during the springtime. Just a jerkbait. Jerkbaits just work. Yeah. So jerkbaits just straight up work. I mean, shallow water. You use shallow water, deeper water. Whenever those bass are, like during the pre-spawn, whenever they're starting to move up, they're going to hit this. During the spawn, you can drag one of these right over their bed, just rip it across their bed. During the post-spawn,
slow it down.
Slow it down. Rip it, stop it. They're going to come up, they're going to grab it. So jerkbait, great springtime bait.
Oh, another thing about the jerkbait. A great thing about it is that once you get your rhythm down, it's there. Like for the water that you're fishing in, like 2 jerks, slow, 2 jerks, slow. If they're biting, they're going to bite.
Absolutely. All right, so as you can see, we both had the same idea on that one because, I mean, they just straight up work. Jerkbaits work. All right, guys, so next up for me is, well, if I can get them apart, all right, is the Lipless Crankbait. So with the Lipless Crankbait, again, it's a great moving bait for the pre-spawn. It's a great bait for the actual spawn because, for one, you can get them to mimic a bluegill or any sort of just sunfish, brim, anything just perfectly. Well, I mean, you can use purples, you can use different sizes, just whatever color. I mean, they work. They straight up work. And then this year, I vowed to only use the Strike King Red Eye Shad. Reason being, I have a lot of people swearing to me that this thing is phenomenal, and that it goes toe to toe with the original rattle trap. This is my go-to. This has always been my go-to since I was a kid. But I'm going to put it down this year, and I'm going to see if one of these can actually go toe-to-toe with these, because I've caught more fish than I could ever count with this original rattle trap, and I'm going to see if these are the same way.
All right. So to emphasize on what Colton just said here, like him, my last one is also the lipless crankbait. Lipless crankbaits are just gonna work for spawning season. I mean, you can literally flutter this thing in, and it's just gonna sit there, and you're gonna catch fish. And there's not really much you can say about it.
Yeah, they just work. All right, guys. So that does it. Both of us showed you our top 5 favorite springtime baits.
And as you saw, some of them were pretty much exactly the same. And that's because, like you all, I'm sure some of your alls matched up with ours. Like, it's baits that are going to work during spawning season.
Absolutely. So, but if you guys have anything different that you want to share with us, go ahead and comment below, and go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe on this video, and stay tuned for a lot more content, because we got a lot more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to pay the water.